Welcome to the Hashimoto's Doctor Podcast. You're now part of a growing community of people determined to take their health back through education and self-empowerment. But because of the healthcare system today, we don't have access to the types of healthcare that we want. So we have to do things differently. We've got to do things smarter, and we do that by becoming our own advocates. This podcast will give you the perspective and thoughts of one of the world's leading Hashimoto's doctors. So let's get started. Hey guys, Dr. Shook here. Hope you're doing well today. I am so happy to be here and to talk with you guys because it's just another day and another opportunity for me to teach and to try to make this world a little bit better. And today I want to talk to you guys about this connection between your adrenal glands and the menstrual cycle. Now, in particular, what I want to talk about and really highlight in today's podcast is this connection between cortisol and progesterone and how that can create a lot of problems for the second half of the menstrual cycle, which is usually days 14 to 28, often called, you'll hear it referred to as the luteal phase. So if you recall, I've talked about in the past this concept of a pregnenolone steal. Okay, pregnenolone is a steroid hormone that your body uses to manufacture and make your progesterone, your cortisol, all of your other sex hormones, your estrogens and your testosterone. And under a stress response, whether that be an emotional response, so if you're under emotional stress, or you have physical pain, or even if it's an inflammatory response, like food sensitivity or some type of infection that's going on, your body will produce cortisol preferentially over your other hormones, your progesterone, your estrogen, your testosterone. So, and that's essentially, your adrenal glands will rob or steal away the pregnenolone, which is needed for those other hormones just to make cortisol due to a stress response, which again can be emotional. It could be physical pain, which drives a stress response. It could also be, like this inflammatory physiological type of response, which will also cause increased production of cortisol. In an event like that, you could steal away the pregnenolone and have lower amounts of hormone or lower amounts of pregnenolone for other hormones to be produced. And we will often see this manifest in second half of the cycle dysfunction, problems during the second half of the cycle. So women will tell us if they have a lot of problems during their second half of the cycle, it can often be associated to this stress response where their body is producing excessive cortisol due to one of these physiological stressors. It's not uncommon to see a woman report changes in their menstrual cycle, more premenstrual symptoms or PMS symptoms when they're under stress. It's even it could even cause you to not to ovulate. That's not out of the realm of possibilities that increased stress would cause you to deplete your pregnenolone, causing you to have, not enough progesterone for you to have really the surge mid-cycle, so like about day 14, and then maintenance or maintaining a higher level of progesterone during that days 14 to 28 if you're having a stress response or if you're under a stress response. So really anything that can drive higher cortisol can create problems with this cycle. And one of the other things that we know about cortisol is that cortisol can actually suppress the LH, which is your luteinizing hormone, which is what your pituitary gland makes that signals the ovaries to produce your progesterone. We know that cortisol that's elevated for a prolonged period of time could actually interfere with the pituitary's release of LH and disrupt this feedback loop, which is basically the central structure in your brain, the hypothalamus, signals your pituitary gland to manufacture and make LH, which is your luteinizing hormone. Luteinizing hormone circulates through the body and stimulates the ovaries to produce progesterone. Now, if your cortisol is elevated, it might not only disrupt and steal away the pregnenolone, but the elevated cortisol may also disrupt this feedback loop and interfere with your release of luteinizing hormone. So what you have to do is really you have to look at the whole picture, right? This is not just a problem that you can make a lot of you can guess at what's producing these problems. Obviously, if you identify that there's an issue with an adrenal response, then you have to you have to track down, well, is it, an emotional, a physical pain stressor, an emotional stressor, or a chemical stressor? And if it's a chemical stressor, you've got to start doing investigation into what could be driving the chemical response, like a food sensitivity or some type of infection or chemical reactivity. What is driving the adrenals? And a lot of other things could drive the adrenals metabolically or, from a physiological stressor. So you've really got to start digging and trying to better understand what is actually happening, causing you to have this type of pattern, assuming that you're making excessive cortisol, depleting the pregnenolone. What's driving that entire process? Because you could disrupt this pituitary production of luteinizing hormone, and then that causes you to not make enough progesterone. So sometimes you've just got to, guys, I hope you understand when you listen to me talk about these different issues, you've got to survey as much as you can and try to understand what is happening. Because when you look at some of these hormones in isolation, it does not give you the whole picture. And many times you're going to be left with, a lot of guesswork. And the more that you can survey and understand, the better an opportunity you have to improve and restore health, as maximally as possible. And that's one of the reasons, when I work with people one-on-one, you have to do testing. If you want me to work with you one-on-one, you have to get extensive testing done. So you have to be ready to spend money out of your own pocket to get testing done. I used to do this where we would try to work with people and we would just try to step through this like step by step by step. And it was impossible in a lot of cases to get really good results. And so, quite frankly, what I decided to do was if we're going to get anywhere, we're going to have to get testing done. You just have to be to the point where you're tired of being tired and you're like, okay, let's dig and see if we can't get better and really improve health as much as possible. And so that's what I find. A lot of people get really frustrated when they don't do what they need to do to figure out as good as we possibly can what is happening and what's driving their symptoms and their problems. So and that's just those are just the facts of trying to understand the body. It's just a complex group of systems that work together, and it's really hard to make decisions and uncover driving processes of your underlying chemistry without really digging deep and trying to understand as many things as possible about what's going on. So I hope this helps you guys to better understand some of the complexities and some of the problems that you might see with progesterone, menstruation, and your stress response. There's a lot of these things that are connected. Everything in the body is connected. I say this a lot. If you were to touch the corner of a spider web and move your finger, you would pull the area that your finger's touching more than the rest of the web, but you would move the entire web. And that's a really important point to understand here. So, guys, I hope this helps you to better understand your health. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. Please, if you've enjoyed this, go share this information with your friends. Tell them about it so that you can help us help other people. And also, definitely let us know if there's anything that we can do better. If you don't mind, go to iTunes and Google Play and review us, and just give us some good, positive, and honest feedback so that we can do better or we can help you guys out as much as possible. So I appreciate you so much. Appreciate you hanging out with me, and I hope this helps you to better, be your own advocate and take your health back. And I look forward to hanging out with you guys again soon. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thanks.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed hanging out behind the scenes with Dr. Shook. You can also talk with and learn from Dr. Shook through Facebook Live on our Facebook page at the Office of Dr. Brad Shook. Don't forget, you can also get access to our videos, guidebooks, and thyroid programs at www.drbradshook.com. Oh yeah, and don't forget one more thing. We can change the world one person, one family, and one community at a time. Until next time, remember, today is your day, and no one will tell you who you are and what you can be.